Hi, everyone. Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Deborah Bailey. And I'm really glad you could join me today. And if you're listening to the show on iTunes or Podomatic, then you can also go to Blog Talk Radio and find the archive of shows there as well that go back almost 7 years. So please make sure you check out Women Entrepreneurs Radio on these different platforms, and tell your friends also to listen in. That would be great. The website and blog for the show is womenentrepreneursecrets.blogspot.com, and you can go there and find the bios of the show guests and links to their recordings. And also you can download information about being a guest, or if you'd like to post on the blog, that's available as well, so you can find out more information about that. Also, advertising and promotion opportunities are there too. So I hope you'll check that out. And also facebook.com/womenentrepreneurs is another place for you to stop by and like the page and share anything about your business, or if you have any questions or anything. And my website is deboraabailey.com. And you can stop by there and check out books that I have and things that I'm doing. And there's more links there as well to get back to the show and information about being a guest. So we've got you covered. Wherever you go, there's information there for you to use and also to share with your friends and contacts. So we're going to get started today with a wonderful topic. And my guest is Ling Wong. And she's going to talk about why the guru systems are hurting your business. And we're going to look at how to get rid of that cookie-cutter marketing. And that's very important because so many people are being told all to do the same types of things. So I think you're going to really enjoy this topic. So Ling is an intuitive brainiac. Through her unique blend of business and marketing coaching with a mindset and psychic twist, she helps the multi-passionate maverick solo entrepreneurs distill all their big ideas into one cohesive message, nail the words that sell, and design a plan to cut the busy work and do what matters. Through her intuitive yet rigorous process born out of her Harvard Design School training and 10 years experience in online marketing, she helps her clients find their unique soul message and bridge it with tried and true marketing so they can fully express their originality without reinventing the wheel. So welcome, Ling. I'm really glad to have you here today.
Hey, Deb. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yes, and so am I. And, you know, this is such a great topic. It's something I really want to hear more about, you know. But before we get started, you know, please share with everyone how you got started as an entrepreneur.
Well, it was about the time when my first kid was born. He's 6 years old now, and it's kind of I was at a point where, you know, sitting at in a cubicle and doing the day in day out at agency thing was, you know, it was good money, but it just wasn't fulfilling. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I'm like, am I really paying a nanny, really, like half of my salary, just so I can be away from home for, you know, 9 hours, 10 hours a day? That just, this kind of like the math did not add up. And I always have this thing in me to have my own thing, you know, just call my own shots and have my own schedule. Sitting at a desk never worked well for my personality. So I'm like breathing recirculated air, and it's just very confining. Executing other people's idea is very, it just doesn't sit well with me. So, I just jumped off the cliff. I have zero entrepreneurial blood in my family. So people look at me like, okay, so what is this thing all about? I started as a health coach, but then really, you know, I just learned to learn everything and experiment and implement everything that I've learned. And very soon, and also because I have that background, very soon people came to me for business and marketing advice. So I just started kind of showing others how other fellow coaches how to do it. And that's how sort of everything evolved into my current iteration of my business, which is busywork.com, that explore what I like to say right now. My obsession is about exploring that space and optimizing that space between individuality and originality versus the tried and true marketing, the systems, right? So that, my clients, my audience, my community can really step up to express their why, the big why, what really drives them unapologetically and profitably without reinventing the wheel.
That's excellent, because people really need the guidance that they have, that they have to know how it fits into what they provide, as opposed to someone telling them this is what you have to do, and 100,000 other people have that same information.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing, and then they're frustrated when it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what it's like to leap out there and decide to follow what you feel is right for you, and build a business that way. Why do you think the guru systems don't work for people out here who may be afraid to take those chances, or just want some guidance, but they're being told to do something that maybe doesn't fit? Why do you think they're not really working?
So I basically see there are like three reasons that I sort of observed by working with many of my clients who are multi-talented and multi-passionate coaches, consultants, and change agents. So they're really, they're creative. They have a lot of ideas. So really stuffing themselves into a box, right, is kind of a crazy thought anyway. So let me just run down the three reasons and sort of dive into them a little bit. So number one is that these systems, they don't take into account your value, conviction, and personality. Who you are and what truly matters to you, because it's different from person to person. They are sort of prescriptive sets of strategies and tactics that can, in a way, limit how we express our value, conviction, and personality. When you think about the idea of system and out of the box and go just follow the steps, right? It's kind of, it really implies conformity.
Yes.
In a way. And also if you don't match the sort of like if your personality and your value and your conviction, they don't match the creator, the people who created the system, then the chances are that they won't feel aligned to you. And if you're not fully sold by how you're marketing, how you're communicating your message, then how can you expect others to buy into what you're saying? The energy behind it is just not there, that, people will feel like you are fully into what you're communicating. And also when you're worrying about whether you are doing it right or saying it right, instead of really letting your excitement and energy about what you're doing come through, your message is not convincing. So, and another thing is that for many people in my community, alchemy and magic really happens when new ideas, skills, and tools and experiences come together, right? So in a lot of these systems, it's sort of like they tell you to pick one thing. It's a very cut and dry definition of things, of niche, of expertise, or clientele. So a lot of people I work with, they feel like they have to compartmentalize and chop up their message and expertise to fit into a mold. And they sort of like, okay, they pick one thing here, they pick the other thing here, put one message here, put the other message there. They just sound like jack of all trades without a cohesive message that tie everything together to be sort of to be convincing and in a way that they can communicate confidently.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's number one. And then number two, is that these systems don't take into account your personal style or how your clients want to be communicated to and interacted with. So many coaches, consultants, and change agents I work with, they do really well when they're making connections in person. However, when it comes to implementing marketing in sort of a more leveraged manner, they kind of hit a wall. The copy and content not only fail to make a meaningful connection with their ideal clients, but it also missed the mark in connecting them with their life's work. And I think that's a big thing that people are not seeing when you implement these systems and use canned templates and words, is that you you're not connected with your business anymore.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. And when they say these things, sort of the elevator pitch thing, right? When they say it out loud, they're not connected with it, and it's just not convincing when you're not connected with your words.
Yes.
They have, and also with these templates and checklists that you get when you sit, we're all sitting on so many of those, right? Just look at your hard drive. Like I said, right, there's a lot of generic words, and that's too superficial for them to really connect in a meaningful way. So a lot of people just stifle their own voice, only to try to sound right.
Yes.
And they use buzzwords and jargons devoid of meaning to them. And it also makes them sound like everyone else. And when you sound like everyone else, you are not positioning yourself uniquely in a way that makes competition a non-issue.
Exactly.
So, and on the side note, I have worked with a lot of clients who did follow the system to a T and got very little results. And the only outcome was that they fell into the comparison trap and felt that they're not good enough or incompetent when they kind of see other people posting testimonials and Facebook posts. And reality is that, I would say only 15% of those people who actually use those systems gets results.
I totally agree with that, because what I found, just to interject, like years ago when I was starting out and these systems, maybe they were really starting up because people were coming online a little bit more and all that. And they used to send out these things in packages. It wasn't online downloads at that time. It was you would get all maybe these CDs and binders. And if once you put all that together, and then if you went through it, I can remember being on a couple of those calls because then you'd have it being the monthly thing, and you would have calls and all this. And people would be saying, "Oh, this didn't," they couldn't really get with it, and the person may be telling them, "Well, you didn't do it right, or you didn't follow through every step." There was always a reason why the person was wrong about not finding results. They never looked at it as, well, maybe this just isn't going to work for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And those 5 minutes of fame in those coaching calls is kind of like they stuff you into some sort of conclusion without really knowing, the whole story.
Yes. So true. So true. Yeah, and makes people feel inadequate.
Exactly. And if you feel it just starts a vicious cycle, and then when you feel inadequate, you buy more of these systems. And then that actually leads to the third point, is that they don't take in, when you put a whole bunch of systems together, but they're not taking into account your holistic marketing and communication plan. So, oftentimes these trainings and programs and systems and whatnot, they are on one specific topic. So you get a blueprint for Facebook marketing, another one for writing a book, and then another one for Instagram or Twitter. You know what it is,
Yes.
So I see many people grab a strategy here and a tactic there and then string them together without considering how everything comes together holistically and synergistically. So they talk to each other and really put the person, really highlight your strength, right? And by stringing together a mishmash of tactics without an overarching plan, many people they just fail to communicate a cohesive narrative. And, some people just sound like a schizo from one platform to the next.
It's true. It's true. You can tell when some things seem like they're putting different pieces together.
And that's not what duct tape marketing means.
Yeah. Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah, so, and that's really the root cause of a lot of busy work and bright, shiny objects, wasting time, energy, and money, because you don't have that sort of like this overarching plan that really reflects your strength and value to guide what tactics to implement. And a lot of times it's just putting the cart in front of the horse.
Exactly. And that's true. Everything you're saying is something I can relate to, and I'm sure anyone listening can do the same, because there's so many people out here telling people what they should do and how they should do it, and here are the steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to make all this money, and as you said, the testimonials is always the people who made the most money in the shortest time. And there they are. You're like, wait a minute, how is this possible? But then if you're in a position where you're not sure, you don't feel right, you feel maybe insecure about what you can do, that can be very convincing. Even if you logically think, oh, that's not right, you can be convinced because you're in that state of mind that you're doubting yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of the sales copy actually pull that kind of trigger to just get people to buy.
Yeah, that's true.
Of course, we need to, I think it's that very fine line between manipulation and really speaking to the to the audience's needs, what really works for them.
Right.
And I don't want to dive into that because I know this can be like a whole other subject. But definitely really do a gut check and say, is it fear driving the decision, or is it something that when you have that cohesive narrative, cohesive message, and a plan that guides your action, and you know what your strength is and what your value is, you have a very powerful filter to really do that gut check and say, is it fear driving the decision, or is it something that is really going to be in alignment?
Yes, exactly. That's true. That's very important. I think that's a great point to make, that people should ask, have a chance to ask themselves that first before they make that commitment and they put the money down and invest in something that really isn't going to help them to be any better. But in that moment, it seems like it's going to answer all your questions and solve your problems, and it really doesn't.
Yeah.
That is really an excellent point. So what do you recommend for banishing the cookie cutter marketing without reinventing the wheel?
Yeah. So I think I think it's really one word that I go by is if you have to ask me for one word, is discernment. Really, this, because I would say undiscerning implementation of the do as I say strategies create misalignment between your truth and your action, which is the root cause of your time and money drains.
Yeah.
So, let's start with that. Solving a problem from the same level as the problem does not give you a way out. So solving the cookie cutter strategy or tactic dilemma from the strategy or tactic level is unlikely to work.
Yes.
So there are many people who talk a good game about not doing the cookie cutter stuff, but the solutions that they offer often involve yet another set of process that fall into the cookie cutter category.
Yeah.
So what I would like to do is let's say we zoom out and take it to the level above the day-to-day operation and look at what's really behind it all. And, like what I like to, my latest obsession is really about optimizing, exploring the space between individuality and originality versus the try-and-true marketing for an expression that is unapologetic and profitable without reinventing the wheel. So with that said, here's my little equation. The immutable plus the principles plus the thought process will create an outcome that you want. So I'm going to really quickly break it down. So number one is the immutable. So new technology, new platform, new strategy, and new ideas crop up every day, and everybody needs to jump on everything, right? Or so they say.
Yes.
So how do you decide what to pursue? So we know that if we hop from one thing to another, we'll probably run in circles and get nowhere. But if we don't adapt to the changing business and marketing landscape, we are likely to get left behind. So it's not like, don't do anything, right? No. So instead of looking at the constantly changing strategy and tactics, sort of the outward expression of certain things based on the environment, and that sounds pretty damn reactive, right? So let's take a step back and look at these two immutable components. The first is alignment, and the second is human psychology. Because at the end of the day, a business transaction involves two parties, you and your clients or customers. And the goal is to make both sides happy, and that's just good business. So alignment addresses you, and human psychology addresses your clients or customers. So, it's much easier to be you in your business and speak and speak to those that resonate with you and can be inspired by the way you are, than to change who you are to cater to a somewhat randomly defined set of people. Some people call that niche, some call that target market, right? So you really have to understand what drives you, and then step up to declare your superpowers and line up your thoughts and action with the meaning you want to create. And I really like this phrase. It's about creating meaning.
Yes.
To really guide your action, because I mean, just these days with all the online marketing things, it's like 10,000 things you can do.
Yes.
So a business that reflects, and my premise is a business that reflects your personality and superpowers stands out. And this unique positioning, because there's only one you, makes competition a non-issue and allows you to, charge a premium price or just really be special. And the second piece of this puzzle is the human psychology and behavior, right? Because you're working with people. Well, thank goodness, your clients and customers are also human beings just like you. So it makes tapping into the emotions much easier. Because we all know people buy with emotions even though they justify with logic. I'm not going to go into that. The horse is beaten to death. But if you look at a variety of successful business and marketing strategies, the one thing they have in common is tapping into certain human psychological needs and drives. They trigger certain psychological needs and drives that turn potential buyers into buyers. So if you know your ideal clients and you know what feelings and emotions you want to create, then you know how to make your ideal clients feel that way. You are tapping into the core of what makes them buy. So you have to say the right thing to the right people, right? So that's like no cookie cutter cut and paste to go about it. So you really need to have this understanding of your audience.
Yes.
Am I making sense so far? I want to check in.
That's perfect.
Now I'm going to quickly move on to the second piece of this equation, which is the principles. So, now we get to those tried and true blueprints and systems and whatnot. Good news is you don't have to toss them out the window. What I like to do is to think about their guidelines, which are man-made, which are made to be questioned and even broken. And what I really like to do is to dissect these strategies or tactics to understand the guiding principles behind them. Learn the rationale and translate them into expressions that are in alignment with what you stand for. Translating them into expression that you can stand behind.
Right.
So it's not just like, go implement, do it like a robot, right? It's really about understanding, so what's really behind it? And if you look at the core of the most successful and timeless strategies or tactics, they are about tapping into human psychology and behavior. They don't turn obsolete, and over time they often evolve into a set of principles that guide action rather than a prescriptive set of tactics. So that is really about understanding the principles behind those tried and true systems. And I love doing things like that. I look at people, and I look at a lot of the ways that people, I'm probably subscribed to more newsletters than I should, but I just like to read them, not because I feel like I'm missing out if I don't, but I like to see how people do things and extract the commonality to see what is behind it.
Exactly.
And that's my geek out moment. And then the final piece of this equation is the thought process. I like to say, because you're not a mindless drone executing other people's ideas, you do have to use that noggin of yours. So we go back to what really drives you and discern how to act and communicate in alignment with your personality, with what's true for you. Knowing that nothing is set in stone. And that's really the beauty of being an entrepreneur, is having the space to tap into your creativity.
Yeah.
And the thought process for me is really about posing questions, challenging the status quo, and asking what if. And I think one of the mindset change that really made a difference for me is we need to release the need for certainty and let go of preconception, so we can enter into a rigorous and unbiased iterative process that can refine our clarity and open up possibility. So I really like the idea of an iterative process. I mean, I did it in design school, and then I did it when I was a project manager, when you're doing a lot of tech project management. There's the agile workflow that's just like, keep reiterating. So what it really does is it requires an open mind and the willingness to fall flat on our face. It's kind of like one way to see it as a rapid prototyping. So you don't you don't put so much time and energy and money into one thing that's like, this is the thing, sit on it until it grows so big that when you put it out, you get cricket and you don't know what to do with it and you feel like crap. So, because when you're so focused on this one thing, you actually lose sight of your bigger picture.
Yeah. Right.
So it is really about having some clarity, enough clarity to take action. And then in the process of having to make choices and decisions, you are forced to have more clarity. And then you arrive at a sort of like a clearer conviction of what you're about. So it is kind of like a journey without a set outcome in mind, although guided by a big vision. And what I like to say is that the final expression is more often than not a pleasant surprise of individual creativity.
Wow. That's pretty fantastic when you break it down like that and show how each piece can really lead to someone being their own person, putting a business out that reflects them and really attracts the right people because it lines up with their ideal client and the person who they really should be dealing with, not something they're forcing and using certain language and trying to fit into another person's idea of what they should be.
Yeah, and because if you pretend to be someone else, you attract the people that are looking for that someone else to work with, to buy from. And it's an uphill battle, even if you get them on the phone, because they would find out that, you are not the person you look like on your website, or you have to do a lot of convincing why what you truly believe in is the right step for them.
Exactly. That is really excellent. And what you said, I'm sure that a lot of people will get a lot out of, because you said a lot in a very basic way. You have it broken down in a way that's very understandable. But what you said is really huge. And I think, it's something that more people need to really sit with and comprehend and understand that they can do this and they don't have to follow another path that's not theirs. They'll be much more successful if they don't fall into line with what isn't who they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's excellent. So why don't you share with us your website and where people can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at business-soulwork.com. So it's business-soulwork, one word, SOULWORK.com. And if that's okay, I would like to share a free gift with your audience.
Yes.
Okay. So I have this free email training series called the How to Find Your Winning Formula. And it is designed to help you distill all your big ideas into one cohesive message, nail the words that sell, and design a plan to cut the busy work and do what matters. So it's a series of 3 emails, and if you choose to download the audio, it is available for you as well. I like to say is that I don't want to, give you gigabytes of videos and stuff clogging up your hard drive, because God knows how many of those are sitting on a hard drive.
Yes.
So I'm like, keep it simple, sunshine. But of course, if you want, the audio is available for you. And you can grab it at business-soulwork.com/YWF-free. So it's business-soulwork.com/YWF-free.
Okay, that's fantastic. That is really fantastic, and thank you for sharing that offer for the class, because that way now people who are listening can follow through and follow up with you and learn more about how they can use these points to apply to themselves and their business, and possibly work with you or follow what your correspondence and emails and things that you're doing, so that they can really start to learn a new way of doing business, which I think is really needed right now, because too much of the old way is out there, and people don't know that there are other ways that they can be. So I'm really glad that you are here to share this. And as we're wrapping up now, do you have any final thoughts on the topic?
I think I can go on forever on this.
and it's so interesting, so.
I mean, it's always something to uncover, and that's why, and it's just, I just find it fascinating to see how it all evolved, and it really points back to having, an open mind. Yes. And go about it in the iterative process. Next time, if your listener came upon this recording, maybe 6 months, 12 months from now, maybe what I talk about is can be a little bit different, can be 180-degree different. I may be shooting myself on the foot already. But I guess I don't care, because it is our evolution, and it's just enjoying the entrepreneurial journey, and it's like when we grow our business, we grow ourselves as well.
Yeah, that's really true. That is really true. I don't think many people realize that till they're in business already, but
yeah,
it's a process, of growth for yourself as well, and then so it's more than just transactions. There's a lot more going on there. But, this has been a fantastic discussion. Ling, I'm so glad you could join me, and I want to thank you again for taking the time to share this with the audience.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a fun and, a great conversation.
Great. And everyone, I know you enjoyed this, so please make sure that you share it with your friends. It's Women Entrepreneurs Radio, and also on Podomatic and iTunes. So whichever way that you're listening to this, definitely let your friends know they can listen. And Podomatic, of course, they can listen. Even if they have Android, they don't have to have iTunes to listen in. We make it very easy for you. And stop by the blog if you want to get links as well and to the various interviews, Women Entrepreneur Secrets.blogspot.com. So once again, it's been Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Deborah Bailey. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye now.